let's talk about the movie Unsane. Now, I'm not talking about this movie because it's like the greatest movie to ever exist or anything of that nature, but it did spark something in my head. It did just get me, talking. Now, the movie Unsane is about a, if you haven't watched it, I'm gonna ruin it for you in this video, but if you haven't watched it, it's about a lady that is a stalking victim. So she has a stalker who has been stalking her for a couple years, and so she is forced to move states. So she moves to another state and she finds a job. And even with this job, she's still having some trouble, just trying to adjust because she is a victim of stalking. So she still has a hard time adjusting, she's scared and she's having like, just little bouts of like delusions, where she sees her stalker. So what she does is she goes to a counselor just to have a talk, just to have a talk. And this somehow, so she kind of states that she has had thoughts of suicide, and the way she makes it sound is, it makes it sound like she had a actual plan. Like, I don't know if you guys know much about mental health, but there's levels to things like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you actually have a plan as to how you're gonna commit suicide, they're gonna take that seriously, like very seriously. But at the same time, that's the first point I want to bring. So she talks to the counselor and says, yeah, I've had those thoughts, but it's like these days, yeah, if I would do it like this. And so with this little statement, this landed her into a mental institution. Now, here's the thing. The counselor made her sign papers without telling her what the papers were. She literally said, oh, just formal papers. And so, when you're signing documents, especially at the doctor's office or like whatever the case is, you kind of just sign those documents. You're not really, especially if they're staring at you while you sign them, you're not really thinking, let me read through this document and make sure that, whatever. So she's just kind of signing the document. She thinks it's just kind of like a legal thing, like just sign it, or whatever the case is. And what she went there for is to get medication, because obviously she's having anxiety and, she wants to kind of just get rid of this anxiety. So she went for medications, and clearly there's something off about the lady, but she's clearly not, I'm not a psychologist, but it doesn't take rocket science to see when somebody, should be locked up in a mental institution, anyway. And I don't want to get too into that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying by any means that I'm a psychologist and that I'm, equipped or knowledgeable enough to know if somebody should be in a mental institution. But either way, just from the average person perception, seems like they just threw her in there. But anyway, so she unknowingly is signing documents that say that she is voluntarily being admitted to this place. So she gets thrown in. So that's point number one. The fact that a person can go to a counselor just wanting to have a talk and being as honest as possible about their thoughts and feelings this is the reason why people don't seek mental health. And this is problem number one. The fact that, it's so easy for you to say something like, yeah, I've had suicidal thoughts, and then it lands you in a mental institution. Like, this is literally what people fear. I've heard this from many people. We've seen this in many movies. People just talk about how, oh, I don't want to say too much, even though you're supposed to trust your counselor enough to say everything. You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, which is the point I'm going to get to last, it's all a business. But anyway, so she gets thrown into this mental institution and nobody gives her an explanation. Point number two, the fact that they don't take people with mental illness serious enough to even give them an explanation as to, and guys, this happened in the movie, but it's not far-fetched. I work at a disability rights firm, so I work with people with all types of disabilities, and I work with a lot of people with mental illnesses, and they come to us with legal issues. So it's this, everything I'm saying is not far-fetched, it's not unheard of, and it's not just a movie. So anyway, she keeps asking and asking what is going on. I think this is a mistake. I just came to talk to the counselor. I was waiting for her to give me some medication. What am I doing here? And they're just putting her through the ringer from the get-go. They're like, please undress yourself, blah, blah. She's confused. She's like, is this what I'm supposed to do just to get medication? You know, so they're like checking her for like, you know, marks to see if she's tried to hurt herself or whatever the case is. Meanwhile, nobody's explaining to her why she's there. Nobody is explaining to her, you know, why they're doing all of that. The nurse is just kind of like, please comply, or like kind of like a threatening type of demeanor, please comply or else, you know what I'm saying? And she is kind of forced, like she kind of has an inkling that she should comply, so she's kind of just going through the motions and, you know, undressing herself for this so they can check her, but she's just like, please somebody explain to me what's happening. So that just kind of goes with point number 2, that these individuals are not taken seriously. Once they think that you have or know that you have a mental illness or that you have a problem or that you have suicidal thoughts, everything you say is just thrown out the window. They treat you like a patient. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is that I understand why they would do that, but I also feel like they're treating these individuals like they're not humans anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like once they go into that institution, automatically everything they say gone out the window. Why is this the case? Why is this? This is the reason why agencies like mine exist. Not my agency, but like the agency I work for. This is why they exist, because people are being treated like animals once they're admitted to these places. And like I said, people have come to us about all types of, this is the issue. The issue is institutions and the way they treat people with mental illnesses. Institutions, people like things like psychiatric hospitals, prisons, all these institutions, they do not know how to handle or how to deal with or, you know, how to communicate with people that have mental illnesses. But either way, you know, that's point number 2. They're being treated like they're not real humans and that they don't know what they're talking about. It's fucking disgusting. It is fucking disgusting, you know. The fact that, you know, people are oftentimes being thrown into these institutions without even being given an explanation is fucking ridiculous. Like, how else am I gonna say that, you know? So either way, she gets thrown in there and they're monitoring her behavior. Now, here's the thing. Everything is relative to each other. The way you act is going to be relative to your environment, who's around you, whatever the case is. So she gets thrown into this institution with other people that have mental illnesses. And some of these other people actually do belong there. And so they actually do have like maybe some behavioral problems or, you know, whatever the case is. So there are other patients in there that are kind of roughing her up. And so she has no other choice but to react to that. Like, obviously you're not just gonna sit there like, okay, but she's riled up because she's in this place where she doesn't know why she's there, and on top of that she has other patients riling her up. You know, she's like, oh my god, what is going on? So she reacts violently. And so this is the part that just kind of just like, what? So because she reacts to the other patients violently, you know what I'm saying, this lands her 7 more days in the institution. So nobody questioned what happened between the patients. Nobody said, hey, you know, what happened? Who started this? How did this start? You know, why did you react? Nothing. Now, this may obviously, in real life, they may like ask that, but it's not beyond me that they may not. Most times they may not. They may not even want to deal with it, because I don't know if you guys worked with people that just don't like their jobs or they don't take their job seriously, or they just try to get a pass, like, oh, I'm just trying to get a paycheck and leave. But that is actual reality. There is people that act like that, and that's the sad thing. So in this place, people are just trying to get a paycheck and move the fuck on. So nobody asked. They're just like, oh, so you did this 7 more days. That's crazy. If you've ever been in this situation, I just want to say I'm so sorry, because that is so sad. But intertwined with this is another thing. So one of the patients, and this got me upset because I'm a woman, and when it comes to things like men, you know, touching you inappropriately, whatever the case is, I'm just like a big, like, I take a hard stance on that. But anyway, a patient just walked up to her and grabbed her boob. Now, what did she do? She hit him. Obviously, like, if anything, that woman was way too lenient on that guy. But she hit him because he touched her boob. You know, because of this, she was threatened with being sent downstairs to be to the, what do they call it? Like, solitary, whatever, solitary, the solitary place or whatever. She was being threatened with being sent down there because she hit the guy that touched her inappropriately. Like, I don't know if you guys are catching my drift, but holy crap, you know, she told the doctor I was sexually assaulted. You know what I'm saying? And clearly nobody cared because they thought she was crazy. Like, I don't know, but just to my naked eye, I would think, oh, you know, this woman is not crazy. Like, but somehow people there just kind of said she's crazy. I'm not listening to anything she says. And so she, at this point, she's kind of like, please send me to solitary confinement. Please send me there, because honestly, like, what else is she gonna do? You know, keep getting harassed by, you know, other patients and not being able to defend herself? Like, I would be asking for solitary confinement myself. And now let's get to the nitty-gritty of the movie. So at first I was kind of like questioning myself, her sanity, because, you know, that's the way they make you want to think about patients with mental illness. They want you to kind of question if they're really telling you the truth, which is fucking ridiculous, you know, because when it comes to things like sexual assault and, like, you know, things that contribute to their illnesses or whatever, or that trigger a reaction, you should always take that seriously, regardless of whether they have a mental illness or not. But anyway, so it turns out that her stalker started working at the psychiatric hospital. And so obviously the guy's not dumb. He's gonna switch, he's gonna change his name, you know, all of that. And she goes crazy. Like, she goes berserk. She's like, yo, that's my stalker. That is my stalker. Please, like, trust me, this is my stalker. He's followed me here. And then the doctor kind of gives her some bullshit, like, yeah, no, we've already run a background check on him. You know, you run a background check on all your employees or whatever the case is. And she's like, obviously you're not going to find anything because his name is not the same. Like, he changed his name. And they're just kind of like, they dismiss that. They're like, nope, we already ran the background check. It's not him. I don't know what to tell you. And so that's point number 2. Even if she was kind of having delusions, which in the movie she actually wasn't. I for a second thought that she might have, but she actually wasn't. It actually was her stalker. If there's a patient that does not feel comfortable around a staff member, even if it has to do with her or his mental illness, that should be respected. Like, it's easy enough, at least I would think, unless you're understaffed, which should not be the case. Like, you should not be understaffed, honestly. Like, but anyway, you know, it should not be that hard to get another staff member to deal with the patient. Like, if a patient shows clear distress dealing with a particular staff member, just let her deal with another staff member. I don't understand how throughout this entire movie, they were just kind of like, no, that's not your stalker. Kind of get over it. And she had to deal with this man the entire time. Like, that to me is mind-blowing. Even if it was not her stalker, she clearly felt uncomfortable with the staff member, and they should have taken that into account. But that's point number whatever I was on. Now I'm gonna get into the last 3 points. The stalker killed a patient that was getting too close to the victim. So he killed an entire patient, and somehow this wasn't a big deal. Like, I'm just so confused. Like, and I know that this was a movie, but guys, let's be honest. Like, in these institutions, people are there to make a paycheck and go. You know what I'm saying? Most, like, a lot of them. And so I think this movie kind of shows how, you know, dismissive people are of people that have some sort of mental illness. Like, let's have an actual conversation. They're very dismissive, you know, especially workers. Like, for some reason, because they kind of dealing with it so much, they kind of go on autopilot mode, and they're just kind of like, yeah, well, you know, all of these patients kind of just tell lies, so I'm just gonna keep it moving, you know. So you have an entire patient that was killed by a staff member, and nobody batted an eye. The head nurse was kind of like, oh, don't tell other patients about this. Like, what? And you can see this in other movies as well. You can see it in the movie The Joker. You can see it in so many movies. If you guys want me to do like an analysis of the movie Joker, let me know. But anyway, so patient be killed, no problem. Let's keep it moving. All right, last 2 points. This is a huge one. Stalking victims are not being taken seriously. Now, this is, oof, I feel like this is so overlooked. I don't even know the word. This is so overlooked. Stalking victims are not taken seriously. Like, I've heard from stalking victims that police kind of tell you, well, nothing's happened, so yeah, we can't really do anything about it. So what do you want? Do you want the stalker to kill me before you do something? Like, that is perplexing to me. Like, there are so many victims of stalking, and it literally ruins a victim's life. You know, they can't go outside. They have to constantly switch where they're moving. They can't have social media. Like, so many things that people don't even think about that stalking victims have to go through because of their stalkers, and because nobody else is taking them seriously. And if you go to a counselor and you tell them, yeah, I've had suicidal thoughts, they're just gonna lock you up. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's one of the points that is the biggest points, that stalking victims are not being taken seriously. There needs to be a hard stance on stalking, honestly. Not only that, but there has to be more research into stalkers themselves and how to stop this, because honestly, the fact that somebody can be stalked and their whole life just changed because of this and nobody take them seriously is beyond me. Like, that is beyond me. But this is one of the biggest points. The fact that stalking victims are not taken seriously is beyond me. And if you've ever been stalked, I'm just so sorry for you. Honestly, like, I'm really sorry, because I cannot imagine. Like, this world is harsh as it is, but having somebody stalk you, forget it. And last point I want to make, and this is also one of the biggest points, mental institutions are pretty much a business. So the biggest takeaway of this movie is, and this is a spoiler obviously, the fact that the lady was never even meant to be admitted into the institution. The whole reason why they did that is because they wanted her insurance money. And as long as her insurance was giving the money and approving it, they were gonna keep her in there. And how was this a fact? Because the lady, the administrative lady, ended up getting arrested because of this. It was proven that they were taking in patients because they wanted insurance money. That is freaking crazy. And unfortunately, that's not, like, that's a thing in real life. Like, that is a thing in real life. These institutions, hospitals, everything, they do things because they want your insurance money. It is a business. It is no longer an institution that is meant to serve people with disabilities and mental illnesses. This is no longer an institution that is meant to help you and you know, help you manage or anything like that, is no longer the case. This is now a business. This is what capitalism does. It turns everything into a business. Now, I don't know if you know about capitalism, but when you have an institution whose goal is to make money, that's gonna be their main goal. They do not care if you're locked up in there because, you know, even though you're perfectly sane, they don't care if you're locked in there for whatever reason. They don't care if you're being sexually assaulted in there. As long as they're getting their money, they will keep you in there and they will keep dismissing you. And even in the movie, the stalker tells the lady, well, it's your word against mine. Pretty much, it's the word of a mental patient versus a staff member. How fucking ridiculous is that? Honestly. Anyway, guys, let me finish this makeup and then come back. Alright, guys, so that was my kind of analysis of the movie UNSANE. It wasn't even an analysis of the movie, but it was pretty much just me pointing out how this movie just highlighted the issues that are happening in real life. Like, these are people that are actually going through this, and I cannot imagine how horrible it makes me feel for them, you know. And this is why I work in a disability rights firm, because it's like, man, somebody needs to listen. And so this is why I make the videos I'm making. You know, somebody needs to listen, somebody needs to have a conversation, somebody needs to magnify this issue. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you watched the movie UNSANE, or if you've been through similar experiences, comment down below. You know, let's have a conversation, let's talk about it. Please let me know what other videos you would like to see, and please like, subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.